Agent Romanoff. You miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Captain, big fan, Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
Hey guys, and welcome to Film Artsy, your number one source for all things films and movies. My name is Elijah, and with the Eternals coming out later on this year, fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are really excited to see what is going to come from this upcoming movie. And while we don't really know anything about a lot of the specifications behind this movie, we're starting to think that this movie might be shaping up to be one of the biggest Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that we're going to see in 2020 and in general for this year. And we've gotten some really exciting news that recently has been dropped that really details some exciting plot lines about what we could be seeing in the Eternals. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this and take a look at everything that's going on. But first, make sure you guys are subscribed here with notifications on for more news and breakdowns just like this. If you are a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is the number one place to get just all of the updates as they come along. First up, while filming for this movie has been going on for a little bit of time now, and it is continuing to be filmed right now, we're starting to see some major plot lines being revealed through behind the scenes pictures that have been posted whenever they're shooting in public, and some press can get a chance to snap a few pictures detailing some outlines as to where the story might be going. Now, this first leak actually surrounds Kit Harington, and if you guys remember from Game of Thrones, he was Jon Snow, a pretty iconic character who will be a Marvel Cinematic Universe character very soon. But essentially, we see him embracing another actress, Gemma Chan, who is also casted to be in the Eternals, and it appears from these pictures, as we also have information about which characters these people are playing, that we will be seeing Kit Harington as Dane Whitman and Gemma Chan as Cersei, which essentially confirms that these two characters will have some sort of relationship between them throughout the course of the Eternals, which does line up to the comic book counterparts, as the plot lines between these characters with the Black Knight and Cersei are really big. Now, if you're completely confused as to what's going on in the Eternals and what this will have to do with the larger scope of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we have also gotten some more inside information as to more basic points of the plot, which is really interesting as well. Now, essentially, these sets of characters are aliens who have lived on Earth for hundreds of years, and we're going to see some of the aftermath of what happened in Avengers Endgame and probably Infinity War as well, and we're going to see some major parallels being driven just because of the state of the universe after what happened at the end of Phase 4. So this movie will kind of make these characters relevant even though they've been existing in the background for all of these years now. And alongside that, the cast for this movie, the team that goes into the Eternals, is actually pretty large if you look at some of the actors who have been casted for various roles. So there's going to be several different branches of plot lines, but we also assume that there's going to be a moment where these guys are coming together to form a team. And we're really optimistic to see what can happen here. And while we know the Avengers as one of the massive teams in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when they make these smaller teams, it can work really well in these movies. We can look to Guardians of the Galaxy as a major example, where we see a team of people come together to kind of work alongside each other for the story, and we're expecting to see something similar here with the Eternals. The big concern that a lot of fans have, though, is will they be able to flesh out all of these characters in just the length of a single film? Of course, we'll probably see these characters more in other movies down the road, but it will be interesting to see how they choose to establish which characters in the course of this movie and where these characters' plot lines land. As production for this movie continues to progress, there's a lot of interesting things with how Marvel has managed to try to keep a lot of these things completely under wraps, not wanting too much of the story to really get out. For instance, they're filming currently in London, which is really interesting. While a lot of Marvel movies are filmed in studios in London, it looks like there's going to be some outdoor scenes being shot, and in the public alert with the call sheet filming notification that they give out whenever they're shooting movies, they're really trying to keep it under wraps, the fact that this is actually a Marvel movie, and they're even calling the film Sack Lunch in the call sheets and alerts. Now, they're not required to say which movie specifically, but they give it kind of a working title. They've done this with all of the Marvel films over the years, but it is really interesting to look at the document itself for this call sheet. It even details some plot lines that are actually in the movie, which is very clearly the Eternals here, where it talks about it's scheduled for release in late 2020, and it follows a group of immortal beings as they strive to protect humanity. We're going to see these plot lines still play out in this movie, of course, and while it is very vague, it's very obvious that this filming notification that has been released will in fact tie into the Eternals, and this is likely just a fake name that they're using for the Eternals moving forward. Now, we saw them do similar things way back when they were shooting for Black Widow, which is another Marvel Cinematic Universe movie coming out sooner, coming out early this year, which a lot of people are excited for. And since we are limited to how many MCU movies we're going to see, and one of these movies is kind of a prequel to where we are in the timeline, it is going to be really interesting to see what they end up choosing to do with the Eternals. As far as cinema is concerned, this is the big hitter. This is going to be the movie that defines 2020 for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And of course, while there are other things coming out in the MCU, we have the Disney Plus shows that should be releasing, at least a couple of them maybe this year, at least one of them with WandaVision getting pushed up. As far as the concerns for what we're going to be seeing in the actual movie theaters, the Eternals actually might end up being something bigger than anything we've seen in a very long time, and that's really exciting to think about. And the cast of characters are a lot of actors that are very familiar to people who watch movies or TV shows in general, so there's still going to be that familiarity while they're still introducing new characters. For instance, we've talked about Kit Harington returning, and it's funny because he was so popular back on Game of Thrones, but we also see Richard Madden coming in as a character as well, and he played Robb Stark on Game of Thrones, and these two characters are going to kind of reunite in a way in this movie. I mean, obviously they're not actually related in the real world, but it is interesting to see these two characters, these two actors specifically, who played characters that were so close together in a very popular TV show, will be once again returning to play alongside each other in this coming movie. Now, we've seen stuff like this happen in the past as well. Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman were both on Sherlock together, and now they're both major characters in the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law were also Sherlock Holmes and Watson in movies, and they were in the MCU together. And of course, there's a ton of other instances along the way where stuff like this happens, but it is really interesting how close together these characters are going to be coming from the same movie and having these storylines that are so intertwined together. And there's a lot of other elements along the way with characters we're really excited to see. We know Angelina Jolie will be playing a fierce warrior named Athena, and while we don't know too much about how this character will come across in the movie, it is interesting that we're seeing actors and actresses coming into the Eternals that have kind of the acting caliber that they have. In the beginning days of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a lot of the actors that they brought in were relatively new actors, or actors like Robert Downey Jr., who at the time were really risky casting decisions. So it is interesting to see how the Marvel Cinematic Universe has evolved and gained a reputation where they're able to bring on these very popular actors and see what type of role they're going to have in this new series. And the fact that this is going to be the start of a new film series is going to be interesting nonetheless, because it's going to kind of tie these massive actors down to being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for at least a few movies. And that's kind of cool to think about. We will also see Salma Hayek in this movie, playing a wise and spiritual leader. And of course, Kumail Nanjiani, we've talked about him coming into this movie and why we are so excited for his character. And there's a lot of other actors and actresses billed with this film, and it's definitely shaping up to be something much bigger than people are talking about right now. And while you might not know too much about this movie and the buzz might not be there yet, we fully expect this movie to be a massive hit once it releases. But now we wanted to turn around to you guys. What are your thoughts going into the Eternals? Are you guys excited yet, or do you feel like the buzz hasn't built up enough hype to get you there just yet? Whatever it may be though, let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you want more Marvel information and things you could just quickly pull up and get info on, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram. There's a link in the description down below. Here's one of our recent posts so you can kind of get an idea of what we post on Instagram. But otherwise, guys, thank you all for watching. Make sure you're all subscribed with notifications on for this YouTube channel, because you're not going to want to miss whatever uploads we put out in the future. Alongside all of the coverage we've been doing recently, we did some really awesome videos on the stunts that female MCU actors have done, along with stunts that Tom Holland did completely on his own for Spider-Man. So if either of those interest you, also check those videos out, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video. Bye, guys.
I'm about to.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hi.
See you guys.
Know anybody?